Hi, my name's Craig Lewis. I'm the owner of Night Owl Circus Arts in Johnson City, Tennessee. Aerial rigging is a huge and highly specialized topic. There's a lot to know about it, and it's obviously very dangerous if done incorrectly. If you're wanting to set up your own aerial rigging, you should absolutely not approach this as a DIY project. You need to work with a professional aerial rigger, and you'll often also need a structural engineer. I see a lot of unsafe rigging out there, and it's really scary. At the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, with almost every aerial studio in the world closed, a lot of people wanted to do their own rigging. And the problem of unsafe rigging really started to grow exponentially during that time, and people were getting hurt. Seeing that happen was my motivation to begin teaching an online aerial rigging class once a month over Zoom. This class is only 3 hours long, which is nowhere near enough training to make you into an aerial rigger. But it's enough to familiarize you with the fundamental concepts, so you'll be more prepared going into this. You can find more information about my aerial rigging classes on my website at nightowlcircusarts.com/rigging. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the differences between steel and aluminum hardware as it relates to aerial rigging. So this is a topic that there is a lot of discussion of online. There's a lot of controversy. There's differing opinions. I'm going to lead with this and say that it is okay to use aluminum equipment in aerial rigging. Aluminum equipment can be very strong, and there's plenty of equipment out there that is designed to hold people and is made from aluminum. So you don't need to rush out and throw away all of your aluminum equipment. However, there are some advantages to steel that are worth being aware of. First, steel is malleable. It bends before it breaks. Aluminum, on the other hand, gives you almost no warning before it breaks. It's much more brittle, and when we do destructive strength testing on aluminum equipment, you'll see that it really shows very minimal deformation before it breaks, as opposed to the steel, which will bend first. Aluminum is much more lightweight. Steel's heavy. The difference isn't subtle. With a little bit of practice, you'll be able to pick up a carabiner and immediately know whether it's steel or aluminum. And this is often the reason that aluminum is used in outdoor equipment that's for caving and rock climbing, because this is equipment that's designed to go into a backpack and be carried out into the woods with you. Industrial and theatrical rigging equipment is much more often steel, whereas recreational equipment that you would see used by rock climbers and cavers is much more often aluminum. That said, you can find most recreational equipment in steel if you go looking for it. It's not difficult to find steel carabiners, steel rescue eights. The one piece of equipment that you will have a hard time finding in steel is your swivel. Typically, swivels are almost always made out of aluminum. There are some available out there that are steel. They do exist, but they're few and far between. Now, usually steel will have a higher overall breaking strength. So if you compare two equivalent pieces of hardware, you take a very similar steel carabiner and an aluminum carabiner, and you compare the breaking strength, in most cases, the steel hardware is going to be higher. Aluminum is a much softer metal than steel, and that does create a potential issue when aluminum and steel are in contact, when they're rubbing against each other. So I'm going to use the example of this aluminum swivel. Let's say that we had it on this steel shackle, and let's say that I've got an aerialist swinging underneath this. You are pretty quickly going to start to see some wear happening right there where the steel and the aluminum are touching. And really, even without big swinging, any kind of aerial act is going to have a certain amount of movement, and there's going to be some rubbing happening, and it will start to wear through the aluminum hardware a little quicker than it would if we were not mixing our metals like that. And so that's the reason you'll often hear people say not to have aluminum and steel touching. Now, it's a valid concern. It's something to be aware of, but it is also often an exaggerated problem. If you're doing your inspections, you're going to find that wear long before it's a serious problem. Keep an eye on your equipment. You should be doing that anyway. Definitely take note of looking at the spot where any aluminum and steel are touching in your equipment. And if you're doing a long-term install where you don't have the easy option to be able to inspect your equipment, it might be better to just stick with all steel and avoid the problem altogether. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out my aerial rigging classes. I teach them once a month over Zoom, and you can get more information at nightowlcircusarts.com/rigging.